So, welcome once again to soft skill first class. So, this is the second lecture, right? In the previous lecture we have already dealt with what is soft skill and how different subject domain, different themes, different context, what are the purposes, why soft skill is required, what are the areas, at what level, at what stages you will be using, or it will be of use to you. And even I gave you a bit of hint while I landed up with my lecture saying about levels of communication, isn't it? Now, we will dwell deep into the concepts, the theory involved in it, the logics, the explanations that what these concepts are, right. So, just to give you a recap, in the last lecture we had dealt with process of communication at greater length, and the elements of the process of communications were sender encodes, selects a channel, transmits the message intended, and receiver receives, decodes and gives a response, and if required by the sender plans a very systematic logical feedback form, and that the same feedback form is filled up by the receiver. Fine, that was all about the process of communication. And do you know what? Do remember, if we talk about communication thrives in the three fundamental models. What are those three fundamental models? Those three fundamental models is communication always across world, across culture, across situation would use language. It may be any language, right? It may be English, it may be Hindi, it may be Telugu, it may be French, it may be German, Spanish, but it uses a language, right? Without a language, communication is next to impossible, right? The second very fundamental model is the Lsrw model. What is this Lsrw model? Lsrw model is listening skills, speaking skills, reading skills, writing skills. Hey, your subject itself revolves around skills, right? Soft skills. So, this particular thing this is the fundamental thing on which this soft skill will be developed in near future across this particular subject, right. So the third is obviously we have dealt in the last lecture, that was process of communication. And process of communication, what were the elements? We have right now even repeated and for your convenience. Fine. So, these are the fundamental models. Please do remember, if so ever an individual is creating an error or a barrier, then it would be related to language, Lsrw, or a process. You would have often heard a saying by your faculties that, hey, your fundamentals are not clear related to the subject. So, if you talk about communication, it is these three fundamental. Either you lack in grammar, you are not able to construct proper sentences, or you are not able to choose a proper word, or your sentences creates redundancies, repetitiveness, or your sentences may be rude, rough, the proper use of decency is not followed, because we are talking about soft skill, right. In the last lecture we had dwelled into detail more or less at an abstract level what soft skill is. Soft skill is speaking politely, right, respecting your words should have a mutual understanding, the mutual respect, mutual trust between you and the other person to whom you are communicating. Fine. Now, so language is a very broad term, language, there is a very specialized subject domain that is known as linguistics, that deals with lots and lots of aspects like semantics, phonetics, morphology, syntax, and there are many things, right. Fine. So, language is very important, and you must know the basics of language. Now talking about Lsrw. See, for this I would like to use an analogy, because it's very much needed, right? If you want to understand all the other things written on the board, you have to understand the analogy related to the story related to how Lsrw is important. The knowledge formation of an individual takes place from child, right? You definitely would have marked a small child in your house or in your relatives or in your neighbor. When he is born, you know, he uses a single mode to convey his problem. Do you know what? If he is thirsty, he will what? Cry. If he is hungry, he will cry. If there is a stomachache, he will cry. If he wants to go for potty, he will cry. So, one and the only way of reflective action of existence of the problem is he would cry. And then what happens when the mother comes and gives a response that, hey, my baby is crying, there is a problem, and now and then the often reaction of a mother is, hey, my baby may be hungry, and she comes up with a small bottle filled up with milk, and do you know what? Baby very strangely and embarrassedly watches the mother, and once she tries to feed the baby, she rejects or he rejects. He is saying that no, I am not feeling hungry, there is a stomachache. And then while the baby rejects denies to drink the milk, then the mother understands, okay, there is another problem. Then she cross check the diaper that the baby has put on. Okay, no, the baby is not hungry, rather he has done potty, right? The confusion thrives, and this particular baby, he understands, oh, there is a problem in my communication, you know, and then what he or she does starts understanding the language prevailing in that environment, in that particular family. How they communicate, what is the reaction in one particular word, and they start picking words. So, first and the foremost thing is he or she starts listening. He or she starts listening to the different words in the environment that is spoken by different people for different objective and different purposes. And then he or she starts repeating the first very word, as often research says, that is mother, ma. Because while he or she starts crying, he is not able to understand who is to come. Yet at times the brother comes, sister comes, grandfather comes, and then the child gets panic. I wanted my mother to come and the other people are coming. Then he learns that mother, ma, the word ma. And then he speaks ma, and then he marks, okay, I use this word and this lady has come, who is my mother. Fine. So the listening, he listens to the different words and he understands the meaning and he retains that meaning by listening. So, it is a very fundamental and most important aspect of knowledge formation in the environment by any individual human being is listening. A great speaker was always a good listener and is always a good listener, right? So, listening skills. If you have listened properly, if the meanings are clear, if you have understood and if you have retained those words, then obviously you will be able to speak. And then the moment listening and speaking carry on, and the baby is then sent to the school, he or she learns how to read, how to write, right? And the process is on and on and on and on. Then the complex theories, concepts and all that is taught to the student or the particular baby, right? And the process we have already dealt. So, these are the three fundamental models, never forget that. These are the fundamental models on which complete communication thrives. It won't be wrong if I say that the knowledge thrives on this. Fine. Now, coming down to the other things, levels. You as an individual, every individual, I have two life, as we have already dealt in the last lecture. I have two life. One is my personal life, I have my family, I behave in a different way because I am at cozy, I am in a relaxed mood, I behave in a different way with different intention, with different context, because there the proper umbrella term or umbrella concept on which I behave is emotion. The moment I come down to my professional life, I am a faculty, I teach students, and when I teach students, I am professional. Professional has different etiquettes, professional has different skills, and personal life has a different skills altogether, right? So, two things, emotion and profession, you have to understand very properly, and you have to distinguish between these two terms, because the behavior should be different at different mode, different situation, different places, and in front of different people, right? Fine. Coming down to the other thing. So, sender, all the time whenever any particular thought has erupted in your brain, you will try to communicate. And if you are trying to communicate, it is understood that it may be you are trying to communicate to yourself or to somebody else. It will be, it's really embarrassing, right? Trying to talk to yourself. Am I a mad, sir? What do you want to say? Am I crazy? Then I will talk to myself. Mad people talk to themselves. No, 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 no. Have you definitely in your intermediate, if you are you would have gone through William Shakespeare drama, maybe Hamlet, Macbeth, Julius Caesar. There is a term used, and your teacher definitely would have taught soliloquy. What is this soliloquy? Have you gone through the Macbeth? If you have gone through the Macbeth drama by William Shakespeare, in what that happened? Lady Macbeth, she talks to herself, she repents, she regrets, just because she herself and her mother, her husband was involved in the killing of the king. So, talking to yourself means rectifying, judging, making decisions. You talk to yourself, right? Right now you are also talking to yourself. How you are talking to yourself? You are making decisions. You are judging yourself. What sir is trying to say? Am I able to understand? What are the concepts flowing? Is he right? Is wrong? There are different criterias. There are different parameters on which you are judging me. You may not be speaking literally. You may not be using of your mouth organ. But yes, your mental, your thought process is on. Right? That is known as intrapersonal communication. I am also thinking, right? I am making decisions in my brain which word to use or how to communicate the concepts that I am meant to, intended to as a sender. So, before I speak, I think, and when I think, that is the communication taking place between myself. You know, I am talking to myself, and that talking is made for decision making process, for rectifications, for judgment, for selection, for choices, for of what? Of proper logics, proper argument, proper reasoning, and I want to be a rational teacher, right? So that once I speak something, you will be able to you will be convinced. Fine. So, intrapersonal communication. This intrapersonal communication, by now you might be clear that talking to yourself, and it is externally nobody can judge that, but you yourself can observe that yes, there is some kind of thought process going on in my brain. I am judging things, and it is very much important. You as an engineer, do you know what? This particular process of communication was used by some scientist. Light detector, man, the criminals who deny that I have not committed the crime, they are put across the light detection machine, which somewhere or the other tempts them to speak the truth, because the reflection of their mind, the eye movement while you speak truth, you know what? You are very confident, your body will support your communication, and while if you lie, you know, your body reacts in a different way. All that knowledge you have gathered is you have gathered that knowledge, you have created that knowledge, but this body is all natural, God has made it. So, there cannot be a defect in God, there can be defect in yourself, that there can be defect in me, but the God made things, it is always perfect, you know. So, this synchronization, this symmetry always mismatches while you once lie. If somebody is lying, somebody is telling some negative things which is not the truth, then what happens? Body does not support. he will start itching like this. Body language, we'll come to, we'll talk on that. Body language, he will start itching somewhere, he won't be having eye contact, he will moving here, he will start moving here and there. And these all phenomenon are checked while a light machine is there. Right? Fine. So, this was used, interpersonal communication was used, a device was created. So, you have to understand all the technical devices that you as an engineer is going to create, or all the engineers who have created already, is an outcome of natural life, day-to-day life, right. So, you have to understand intrapersonal communication is very much important. And when intrapersonal communication, one broad term I would like to use, always remember, if you are an engineer, if you are a scientist, you are going to be a science oriented person, right? And if you do not have observation skills, hey, you are not the right man. You are not the right man in this world. You won't fit in, you won't be successful, because observation. And observation is also a part of intrapersonal skills. How? Hey, engineer, some engineer marked in late past. Some lady was very full of pain, was washing clothes, and too many clothes were there in the house and she was washing. And some engineer oriented person was observing, okay, see how painful it is to wash so many clothes. He came up with the concept of washing machine. There was no communication between, literal verbal communication between that particular engineer and that lady. Only observation, and that was internal. He was observing and making thought process which was not known, and he came up with the concept of washing machine. Same was the case of AC. Somebody marked that in a very super genius is working and he is not comfortable because of heat. He came up with the concept of AC. Right? So, observation is also a part of intrapersonal skills. So, if you are not observant, if you do not have that skill, hey, believe me, you are not the right person. So, right, intrapersonal is very important aspect, and that teaches you how to be a good soft skill person, right. Coming down to the intrapersonal, if you are having a good observation skills, then you are automatically will come down with what is right, what is logical, what is rational, what is proper reasoned based facts, what is proper reason based fact, what is proper reason based information. And if you are able to decide this, what is fact, what is information, and what is the rational reason based, then what would happen? Automatically your communication, that sender, being a sender, whenever you will try to communicate for whatever purpose, in emotion or in profession, that will be rational. Nobody will be hurted and everybody will be a friend. So, knowing, deciding, thinking what is right, what is rational is intrapersonal skill. And once your intrapersonal skill is very good, believe me, your interpersonal skills will be good. How interpersonal skills will be good? What is interpersonal skills? First of all, let us dwell in that. Interpersonal skills means talking to others. If you are working in an environment, say in an organization, then every organization has lots of people. You have to work with people, you have to work in team, you have to work in groups. And if you are working in team and groups, there are many people. If there are many people, they have different ideologies, there are different identities, they have different mindsets, they have different behaviors, they have different intentions. And hey, you are there to cooperate, you are there to coordinate, not to hurt anyone. If you hurt, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, Newton's law. If you hurt, they will find a way out to hurt you. So, it is better not to hurt anyone and make a situation where whenever you are there, everybody will start feeling affectionate, they will start praising you. Hey, this man is very jolly, I would love to work with him. If such a charm, if such an identity, if such an impression, if you are able to create, then you have a proper interpersonal skills. interpersonal means once you consider equal importance of yourself